This is VSiN By The Books on VSiN, the sports betting network.
We begin hour number 2. It is VSiN By The Books. I'm Dave Ross here at Circuit Sports in downtown Las Vegas, Nevada. He is our closer, Jensen Lewis, back home in Cleveland, Ohio. Jensen didn't get a ton of sleep last night, staying up late, watching these games as much as I could. Didn't have to stay up too late to watch the Pistons even up that series with that 100-94 win over the Knicks. But then you did have to stay up later for that Clippers-Nuggets game. 105-102, Clippers get the win. Both those series now, the zigzag theory is in full effect. And both those series now at one game apiece. It wasn't artistry necessarily. I mean, it was from Kawhi. Kawhi looked fantastic. It looked like old Kawhi with 39 points in that win. But you saw a lot of mistakes being played, but you also saw defense being played. So these unders, both cashier and both road teams getting the outright wins. I wonder if it's a bettable trend continuing and how low the books will go to adjust some of those totals.
Oh, it'll be remarkable, where things end up transpiring. And I think that's what we kind of felt like is even in the play-in tournament, the under, not necessarily an auto bet, but certainly when those totals opened, those were the better numbers that you were going to get. So unless you get into overtime to have a great chance at it, again, that fourth quarter for the Knicks and the Pistons, a perfect example, right, of just some turnovers and also some inability to make some shots because you do have guys on. We even see it now from quarter number one, David. Guys are just right up on it. You're guarding the perimeter. You have a little pressure. So again, shot clock. Those extra few seconds each possession mean everything for those totals.
In the night on ice, 4 games there, and what a game in Washington D.C. I couldn't believe how well they just flipped the switch. Montreal to a 2-0 deficit, dominated the third period, tie it up at 2. We go to overtime, and then the Great 8 does something he has not done in his illustrious NHL career, and that is a game-winning playoff overtime goal. But the Great 8 does that last night. Caps get that 3-2 win. Jets hold on. They're now up 2-0 on the Blue Note, 2-1 with that win north of the border for Winnipeg. Then we saw those shootouts out west. Dallas 4-3. Kind of felt like, boy, that one was back forth. Avs are up early, quick, 1-0, 1-1. Then Dallas has a 2-1 lead, 2-2. Then the Avs take a 3-2 lead, tie it up at 3, and then the Stars win it in overtime, 4-3. So back forth there. And then maybe the wildest game of the night, the Kings are up 4-0. And Jensen, I'm like, oh, man, what's going on with Edmonton, their offense? And then I look over and I flip over as I'm trying to start to shut it down after the Clippers game is over. Connor McDavid just does some ridiculous things. They get that thing knotted up at 5, and I'm like, oh, this is going to overtime. I got to go to bed. No, they got it done in the final minute of regulation. The Kings do 6-5 with that win. Man, they don't play a lot of defense in Edmonton, but that offense, Jensen, it's still as elite as it gets in the league.
It is amazing to see, as you get through the box score, and again, seeing just the differential of times here. So you have 3 goals in the final 2 minutes, wow. And the 2 that Edmonton needed to bring it level. Again, by Zach Hyman and Connor McDavid. So, really a team that has always been prolific in the regular season, being able to put the puck in the net. Great to see it. Hey, listen, shout out to Jonathan Davis. Yep. He gave us a couple of weeks ago, he said, if you're looking for a dark horse team to hitch your wagon to, the Kings would be that group. I know Stormy was talking about it. What'd she say? 4 times the charm yesterday, where she's like, I think it's finally the Kings' year to be able to get past Edmonton and make a run here. So needed that first game. You feel a heck of a lot better about yourself, especially getting across the line in the final minute. Yeah,
you blow a 4-0 lead to the team that's vanquished you multiple times here in the postseason. That would not have been a good look, but they do hold on for that 6-5 win. So we've got some other things to get to, and we do that now with our highlights and headlines.
Help your bottom line with today's highlights and headlines.
Kind of wanted to see it. We're not going to see it, and that is Cooper Flagg staying in college, NIL money through the roof. Nope. Officially declared himself eligible for the NBA draft. So remember, you could have got Duke at around 10-1 next year. If you have that ticket in pocket, you do not have Cooper Flagg because he's gone. So he's going to be entering that draft. Now you've got teams that are going to be bucking for that position. and 14% chance of landing the pick with the Wizards, the Hornets, and the Jazz. And it does feel like a Wemby-type draft. I don't know. We'll find out just how good Cooper Flagg is. But, Jensen, we always say there's no such thing as a can't miss. We didn't feel like Wemby could miss. I don't feel like we feel like Cooper Flagg can miss either.
So just from the money aspect of it, for what Duke in their NIL and collective would be up against, just happen to go to Spot Track just to see what the slot and kind of that value. The number one pick for the draft going to be right around $62 million for that 4-year contract. So if you could have gotten Cooper Flagg to get him about $15.5 million, maybe he would have stayed. That gets you at least your rookie year average annual value. But fans in Utah, Washington, Charlotte, New Orleans, those are, and again, I know we have some other lottery teams in there, but I told you this the other week. I said, hey, there's a reason LeBron got to Cleveland. The ping pong balls just happened to go their way. Does that have, if you had your druthers, I know the NBA would love to have, a Cooper Flagg in the DC area, heck, even in Charlotte, knowing the following from Duke. Is it as sexy if he goes to Utah? We already had this issue with the Pelicans and Zion, the lottery winners there, and it just didn't work out. If it's Philly, does Brooklyn find their way in there in the lottery? So anxious to see it once it happens, but I don't think we're as surprised knowing what the dollar echelon would have had to be for Cooper Flagg to pass up and go back for one more year.
I know people in the DMV, this won't be a surprise to them. For people outside of the DMV, it will be. And, being there for 2 decades like I was, D.C. is originally a basketball town first. I know it's dominated by football now, right? And it's been that way for quite some time. But I was there for the John Wall intro, do the John Wall, right? And that city went nuts for John Wall. If they get Cooper Flagg, I can't wait to see what those numbers look like in the futures market for the Wizards. That town will explode if you give them just the semblance of hope with their basketball team. So selfishly, I'd like to see that work out for DC because that is a basketball hotbed waiting to explode. What about the Hawks? It feels like you just need to blow it up, speaking of implosions. Landry Fields, good player. Maybe not a great GM. He gone. So he's been fired after missing the playoffs for the 2nd straight season. Looks like they've already got the replacement, and it's going to be from the Golden State Warriors. You might remember him from the front office. Anzi Salah is going to be taking over that role effective immediately. What do we make of the Hawks? Because, again, Trae Young, I know he's upset about the way that the play-in situation works. He's like, hey, you play 82, we should be in. And maybe that would be different for Landry Fields, but the play-in kind of played him out, and now he's out of a job.
Yeah, and again, the defensive issues with that group just felt like they were a sieve for most of the year. We can ask JVT coming up, where does he feel kind of an early look at the draft where Atlanta may need to go? The issues with Trae Young there at the end of the year and even in the play-in tournament. I know he had some comments. He played 82 games, and it comes down to this. Here's the thing: you look at the depth chart. So Trae Young, Dyson Daniels, boy, what a nice season for him. And does it end up, the backcourt? Is that what you do? Is it a Jace Richardson out of Michigan State potentially that you go? Is it Derek Queen? From a front court standpoint out of Maryland, they've got a couple of things they can do, but defensively, man, they got to start limiting some scoring opportunities if they want to get back in the fight.
And they had Luka Doncic. They drafted him, traded him for Trae Young on draft day. Interesting. Luka's been traded twice already. If you want to check out sharpplays.com, it's where real bettors go to get ahead. You got to check it out. A lot of the betting world's a lot of noise out there. We get that. Sharpplays.com is not that. So it's going to be since 2011. They're going to try to get you what the real pros are betting. So that's going to be elite group, sharp money, the kind of money that actually moves the markets. So it's going to have insider info, powerful AI tools at your disposal. You can sign up for free and get those betting reports, real-time alerts, next-level intel via email or on X. Don't take my word for it. Check the receipts. Full betting logs are live on the site, so what are you waiting for? Check it out. Sharpplays.com. Respected, watched, and feared. That's the Sharp Plays at sharpplays.com. We mentioned in hour number 1, Nico Harrison, kind of a bizarre answer to, did you really know? Basically, what the level of attachment was with Luka Doncic. Sometimes I'm always quizzical about media training, and I want to get your thoughts on it. If you know who Neil Shipley is in the golf world, you do know who this kid is. He was low amateur, so he was at Butler Cabin at Augusta a couple years ago. He won on the Korn Ferry Tour. He's going to be on that PGA Tour very soon. I want you to listen to the way the media and what he had to do to celebrate said win number one.
Hey guys, this is Neil Shipley. I just won my first career down here in Lake. I just won my first career professional. I just got my first career win as a professional here at the Lecom Suncoast Cap. Hey guys, this is Neil Shipley. I just got my first professional win here at the Lecom Suncoast Classic. Super pumped about the win, and just all the work we've been putting in this year. Really excited for the rest of the year here on the Korn Ferry Tour, and to hopefully win a couple more. You guys take care, and hope to see you next week in Dallas.
I love the kid. I love him already. Jensen, how was your media training? You guys had some of that, right?
Well, I took communication classes because it was my major, so I kind of had a crash course. I mean, when you have, your second class freshman year at Vanderbilt, and your professor is a two-time speechwriter for two former U.S. presidents, you kind of figure out what to say or how to spin it. So I've been talking to my people down in Columbus for Neil Shipley, see where we dropped the ball there.
Maybe he didn't expect to win so quickly. On the tour. We'll be seeing it. I'm sure love the honesty. I'm sure those questions will get answered a little bit better when he gets to the PGA Tour. Come on back. We're talking NFL draft. That is next here at VSiN By The Books.
You're tuned in to VSiN By The Books right here on VSiN.
We are back. VSiN By The Books. Dave Ross, Jensen Lewis. Man, it's been a lot of fun the last week plus here getting us ready for the NFL draft on Thursday. So we have 2 more days to go. We are tackling literally every single team in the first round. And yes, every team does have a pick, which is kind of nice. So we're going to get through 32 before we get to Thursday here on the show. And by the way, we're doing a special here on the network on Thursday. Going to be live betting show here. And again, if you're in Vegas, you won't be able to live bet while the show's going on. But anywhere else, these jurisdictions and how they do these things, absolutely bizarre. So everybody else is going to be live betting the draft, except if you're in Vegas. So absolutely bizarre there. If you're in L.A., you're wondering what the Chargers are going to do. So let's talk about the Bolts here. Obviously, really good year one for Jim Harbaugh there in company. Maybe a little bit disappointed in their loss to Houston. If you remember that playoff game, they were actually road favorites in that. They're going to be drafting at 22. They do have a 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and then 4 in the 6th round, and then 1 in the 7th. So that's interesting. They're going to have a lot of backloaded picks, or, as we've talked about, Jensen, you can use those for collateral, try to move up in the draft and package some of those picks. But it's nice when you have that plethora of picks there to have those opportunities. Tight end, wide receiver, running back. So skilled players on offense that feel like kind of glaring holes there. And now Joey Bosa, he's in Buffalo. So now you got to look at edge and that D-line. I know a lot of people are going, man, how do you let Bosa go? But where I always go back to before I ask that question, Jensen, is Jim Harbaugh and the front office knows how good Joey Bosa is. And there's a reason why he's not on the team next year at the price point. So I'm not one of those alarmists of like, oh, my goodness, why would they do that? I got to trust Harbs knows exactly why they did that, and they feel like that maybe they can get younger and cheaper in the draft. What do you think 22 looks like for them?
Yeah, so again, just looking at where they would be at 22, you would think edge rush because of that defensive gap right there. Also, the skill positions you mentioned at tight end and receiver. Ladd McConkey, obviously, with an amazing year, and he will be heavily relied upon to help lead this receiving corps. The Najee Harris signing is huge because we know how much Jim Harbaugh wants to rely on being able to move the chains that way. Yeah, you're right. Will Dissly doesn't do much for me at tight end there. Tyler Conklin, not as as well. Does that mean, though, that at that position in the draft, is there a tight end you would be wanting to take, a receiver you might be wanting to take? Not in my estimation of just kind of seeing where some of the mocks are. I think in and around that area, it probably is predicated on what happens directly in front of them. We've talked a lot about what the Broncos could do. They've been rumored to wanting to move up, but if they stand pat and if Amari and Hampton ends up being there, they probably go there. The Steelers talked about Jackson Dart potentially, but they also love going defense. If some defensive guys slide to them, you're thinking of Walter Nolan from Ole Miss, Mike Green from Marshall, edge rusher there. I still believe, knowing where potential chaos could be, the Chargers could still have a couple of guys very highly rated, if not their top defensive rated guys that may be available there at 22.
Yeah, it is going to be a pivotal draft here for them because, again, we think, and the betting market displays it as well, that if it's not D-line or edge, which is plus $1.25, positional player, right? Doesn't matter who it is, just D-line or edge, plus $1.25, then it does look offense. Receivers 4-1, tight end is 4-1. That's pretty high for a tight end at that spot, right? O-lineman is 5-1, and then running back is 850. So that tells me, outside of the Bosa move, now he's in Buffalo, is, okay, we'll take care of that in the draft, whether it's first or second round, but we're going to get a lot cheaper there. And then we attack those skill players around Justin Herbert. You know, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility either that O-lineman, even though it's deeper down on the board at 5-1 as the fourth betting choice, is out of the realm of possibility if the way Harbaugh is viewed as being so conservative, right? And I'm not saying that he's not having carte blanche and it's his pick to make, but you know it's going to be made in the framework of what Harbaugh wants to do, right? Whether, you know, if you want a two-headed monster with Najee Harris, that would be interesting because we talk about these running backs, and I don't think Hampton would be there this late. You might have to look at Travion Henderson at that point if you're looking at them at 22. So don't you think it will be in the image of what Harbaugh wants this team overall to look, but certainly that offense?
So Colston Loveland, of course, a Michigan man, makes a lot of sense if he would be there to go the offensive route. I'm not sure you take Emeka Ibuka that high. I think you and I both agree that Ted McMillan, boy, you want to talk about a swing of odds for him rocketing up the board, even as high as 5, maybe even into the conversation there at 6. But I still think that we have to wait to see kind of where Matthew Golden and Ted McMillan go before LA really makes a choice between a tight end making sense or a receiver on the board to team with Ladd McConkey and Quentin Johnston. Overall, though, having the ability to have picks all the way through those first 5 rounds and then the multitudes. I mean, 4 6th round picks. I don't know how you package that to maybe move up on a day 2, but potentially that's what they do. I still think they're in wait and see. They'll have their board the way they want it, but I think they're in wait and see of teams that want to maybe jump back in. Does it make sense? Or if they need to go up a little bit, like how far do you go up and who do you go up for on either side of the ball? That I think is the intriguing part for them, waiting to see what happens in the top 10.
And this will get into, if they look wide receiver, which, again, is one of the shorter numbers on there. And, again, it feels like a team, at least in the betting market, where after edge at plus $1.25, everything's plus money with this team. There's no consensus, right? There's no consensus of like, oh, they're definitely going to go here. That's where it gets intriguing for those number of receivers, which is sitting at 2.5. If they go receiver, you would think potentially that would put them over to the 3 if you're betting the over on the 2.5, or again, as we mentioned with tight end or running back. And I know that you're looking at a play with Travion Henderson. That would be interesting to me because just going back to his Michigan days, going back to his San Francisco days, it always felt like Harbaugh couldn't have enough guys. He wants to run the football first. That's kind of a Harbaugh trait. So I know he's in love with Justin Herbert, but I almost feel like if he feels like, and that's why you go make the move to get Harris out of Pittsburgh, is that you feel like, man, we've got to really upgrade that running game. And that, again, could play into the O-line possibility here. So they do truly feel like a wild card. At 9.5, Jensen, that's the same win total they had a year ago. And it was one of my other better bets that got home. Played the over, and it was a trust factor on Harbaugh and Herbert. Look at the odds to win the West at plus 310. Close to where the Broncos are. Broncos slightly a little bit longer as the third betting choice. Again, they're gaining, at least in the marketplace, on Kansas City. Could they make that leap now from, wow, really good double-digit wins in year one, and yeah, we're really going to push the Chiefs this year to win that division?
They have a brutal schedule. Can I just give you the home dates outside of the division? You got Houston, you have Philly, you have Washington, you have Pittsburgh, you have Minnesota.
Whew.
Oh, and then Indianapolis is in there too. But my God, Dave, I mean, that's the home schedule outside of the division. At least the road games are intriguing. I think they're going to be. Are they a team designated for Brazil? I can't remember if they are or not. But you got to go to Miami, depending on when you go there. You're at Tennessee. You could handle business. At New York for the Giants. You got to go to Dallas. You got to go to Jacksonville. So hey, their work is going to be cut out for them. If there is a team that can take a step forward, it's certainly them, knowing the quarterback play and what they could do on the ground as well.
They are going to be going to Brazil as the designated home team.
There you go.
You lose a home game as they're going to be going there on September 5th. So they will be the home team. So one of those games. And by the way, you mentioned those home games. Those aren't home games. Those are all road games.
Well, true,
I mean,
right.
That's the problem when you're kind of the second city of L.A., second team in L.A. You don't even have true home games because there's more people there rooting for the other guys that want to go to L.A. to watch their team play. I don't know if they can ever change that, Jensen, but I do think that's part of that handicap, that they're never true home games for the Chargers.
Hey, listen, I was out there when the pandemic was starting to open up, or at least things were starting to open up when it was the Chargers and the Browns, and it was a home game for those of us. But I think we were better than 35,000 that were there. I mean,
Wow.
You did not see a section that had the powder blue whatsoever overpopulating, and you're so right about that. I think about that for survivor implications too, of those teams that travel really well. So anxious to see it, but boy, on paper, they got their work cut out for them, that's for sure.
We talked about the special we're going to be having here. If you want to live bet the draft, be with us to wake up. We'll get you started for the draft. Going to carry you all the way through the day. And then 2 special live shows going to break down every pick from a betting perspective. Look at this. This is going to be fantastic here in the network. VSiN Primetime Draft Edition starts at 7 p.m. Eastern, followed by Cashing Out Draft Edition at 11 p.m. Eastern. You can explore our NFL Draft Hub on the VSiN Watch app. Features exclusive analysis, teams, and insights for every single team out there. Visit VSiN.com/draft for all the coverage. Stream it all live all day long on the VSiN Watch app. Let's talk some puck with Paul Capongiri. That is next here when you come back with us on VSiN By The Books.
VSiN By The Books, right here on VSiN.
We are back, VSiN By The Books on this Tuesday edition, and the NHL Playoff certainly last night lived up to all the hype with 4 incredible games, all those games decided by 1 goal. Let's bring on Paul Capongiri here to talk a little bit more about what we saw last night in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Joins us now here on the Progressive Guest Line, hockey analyst at Big Ten Network in Chicago. Paul, great to have you on the program, my friend. We lose sleep during the Stanley Cup playoffs collectively, but I think we're all good with it when you saw the action like we saw last night. What do you make of it? And is it we're going to expect more of this each and every night now, Paul, that, look, just hold on because every game could be like what we saw last night with those 4?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of hoping, the late game was 4-0 LA. I'm like, okay, maybe, after the second period, we can shut it down and get to bed. But Connor McDavid's like, wait, hold on. No. He came alive, and that was just pretty awesome stuff last night. 4-0, then 5-2 in the third period. They roll back, tie it up, but then LA says, hold my beer, and Philip Deneau scores a flutterer in the last minute, and LA comes alive. That's what's great about playoff hockey. The first 2 days were, you call them quote unquote boring. I'd say, not many close games, no overtimes, but hockey finally hockeyed last night, and we got some great games.
Yeah, Paul, again, beggars can't be choosers here. I did take the Kings -1 last night, so I feel fortunate to get that across after the meltdown there in the third period. Hey, let's look at the slate tonight. We got 4 games. We get kind of an earlier start here with the Devils and the Hurricanes. Obviously, Carolina up 1-0 in that series, and then the Senators and the Maple Leafs. So the 2 early ones tonight. Toronto kind of taking care of business as we thought as well. Any chance you see an equalizer between the Devils or Ottawa tonight?
Boy, if I'm going to pick one, it's going to be Ottawa. I thought they actually played pretty well, outshot the Leafs. I mean, the Leafs won a playoff game with kind of goaltending. That just hasn't been the MO. And Anthony Stolarz was the backup in Florida. Now he's the guy in Toronto. Big guy in net. I mean, you got to think, look, power plays were 6 for Toronto, 2 for Ottawa. You think that's got to balance out a little bit more. Toronto scored 3 power play goals in that one. So I like Ottawa, maybe also 18 players, first playoff games for Ottawa. Young team. I think now they got a game under their belt. I like Ottawa's chances. Carolina just dominated New Jersey. That building rocks. I like Carolina to continue. But I like Ottawa to kind of maybe see where we get an overtime game there in Toronto. That would be fun.
Paul, I do look at it, and we've talked about it for years here in the network too, and even the players have said in Toronto, they do feel like that historic pressure that's put on that franchise.
Of course.
And it felt like maybe, you get kind of that easy game 1 win. Does that dissipate, or is it just mount, even if they were to get through this series as it goes? Because I talk about it all the time. It's like the Cowboys in the NFL, the Yankees in Major League Baseball. It's Toronto in hockey to get over that hump. Yeah. Do you think this group could be positioned better to do that than in groups past?
I like them. I like their defense a little more depth with Tanev back there and Riley and McCabe. They just have not. They've got a lot of money in those top end forwards, right? So they haven't had a ton to put on defense and goaltending, but they were able to find ways to manipulate that a little bit. When they traded for McCabe, they had the Blackhawks take half the money, so it worked the system a little bit to do that. That's where they've gotten the depth now that they didn't have. They're the same forward group. They've got a few more guys, but they're just set up a little better. These guys have had so many experiences now. They are so used to the pressure. I think it's time. But, you win a game big like that, the other team's going to come harder. But Toronto, I like them, making a run. I don't want to put the little jinx people in Toronto get upset, but I like the vibe there. I think there's a better vibe. Just those guys are used to the pressure now. Marner and Tavares and Matthews, they've heard it all for years now, and it's kind of like, I think they're a little numb to it.
Paul, we get the final series underway here in the first round with the Lightning and the Panthers tonight. Who knew the hotbed of hockey is in the Sunshine State? I have a play in pocket already. Interested in your thoughts on it. I got the Lightning on the puck line. I love where their offense is at. I believe the goaltending will make it stand up as well. Maybe have to sweat it a little bit at the end. But 2 teams, obviously, that don't like each other. And if you like pace, even though the total a little bit lower here to start for playoff hockey, really, really intriguing series to get this one underway.
Yeah, I mean, this is their 4th meeting in the last 5 years. The rivalry is there. The cup goes through Florida now, the state of Florida. It's pretty amazing what hockey's done there, and I like that pick for tonight, especially. This series is tough this is a tough one to game because Florida, tons of injuries. They've got all their guys back except for Aaron Ekblad, who's suspended for the first couple games. But the defending champs they went with the we're going to rest our guys, get ready for the playoffs, and just hopefully we can just turn it right on. And, that's a tough one. And with Andrei Vasilevsky in net for Tampa, that's where I like them with the slight edge, especially in this game 1. Look, home teams are 8-1 to start the playoffs. I think that in that series, the home ice is going to be a little bit of an important when you're looking at you're such a small line between the 2 teams. I like that puck line pick early with the Lightning tonight in game 1.
Paul, when I look at the odds board here to win the Eastern Conference, and you see this series in particular, Panthers are plus 450, the Lightning at plus $5, right? Even though the Lightning have home ice, they're the longer shot. And you mentioned it kind of goes through the Eastern Conference, goes through the Battle of Florida here. All due respect to the Caps with that great, overtime win last night with Alexander Ovechkin. They're plus 450. Hurricanes are the shortest shot on the board. Could you make that case that the winner of this series should be the favorite to come out of the East?
I absolutely. The Caps, it's one of those things where until they do it in the playoffs with this, last year they were an 8th seed. Now they're the number 1 seed. And, there's doubts there until, most people say it. But when Tampa's won 2 cups, Florida just won the cup in the last 5 years. That's just how it works. A lot of people have picked Tampa. It's funny, you watch the guys at the networks covering the games a lot. By 75% of them picked Lightning to go to the final. I think a lot of people think the Cup's going in the West. Who knows once you get to the final. But Tampa's, I love the depth they got. They got Yanni Gourde back in a trade that was a Cup guy with Tampa earlier in the 2020s. I just like what they got. And then Andre Vasilevsky, and they're the rested team now. For years, they were the team playing till the middle of June. I mean, that just takes a toll on your body. It's the other way around now with the Florida Panthers. I think Lightning are fresh, and I think that's why they're kind of the team that most people are picking right now.
Paul, were you surprised with just kind of this stretch that the Stars had in knowing that it feels like they were not going to recover from what was an all-time meltdown, giving up those 3 goals in the final minute back in the regular season? I've got a future. I feel like I'm littered across the board on the Western Conference, so I'm good either way. I've got futures on the Avalanche, the Knights, and the Kings. Handicap the West overall for us. I know Winnipeg, one of the preeminent teams here in the regular season. How do you see the West kind of playing out?
Wow. I mean, it's tough. Dallas, if they don't get Robertson and Heiskanen back, I mean, Heiskanen is like losing Cale Makar or Quinn Hughes. I mean, like, he is their lifeblood on defense. So I find it really hard for Dallas if they don't get those guys back. They're obviously playing the Avs too, which a lot of people said, it could be a conference final matchup. I'm a Vegas guy. Big, strong. They've got the experience. A lot of that team. The Jets, though, they look good in their first 2 games. Let's see what they do on the road finally. But they're missing a few forwards, Ehlers and Velarde. If they get those guys back, man, I mean, just murderer's row up there when you look at that group of teams. But for me right now, it's Vegas. I think is the team I like the most. They look good in game 1. If Aiden Hill's good in net too, I mean, come on, that's just almost unfair because their defense is so stacked and make it so difficult. You saw the Wild, 20 shots, and it almost like you almost had to just throw it there. They just build a brick wall. So Vegas is my team, but man, Jets, Avs. I mean, with Blackwood and net, with Connor Hellebuck and the Jets, he looks more comfortable this year. He struggled last year against Colorado in that first round. He looks dialed in. If Connor Hellebuck is doing his MVP type stuff, you throw them all in the mixer and see what happens, but it's going to be so much fun.
Only have about 30 seconds to go, Paul. Very quickly, you mentioned you like VGK. They're massive favorites tonight, 245 here. If you want to take them on the puck line, it's plus $1.14. Are they just too good for Minnesota tonight? And that total sitting at 5.5.
Yeah, I mean, if they play the same way, I mean, there were times the Wild had some really nice sequences in the game, but Vegas just can frustrate you. They make you work so hard to get anything. Kirill the Thrill is going to have to be fantastic again. He was, but they need a second layer of offense if they're going to beat the Vegas Knights. So I like Vegas again tonight at home. That the play that the throne or whatever they call it there is going to be rocking again.
Well, we appreciate the time, my friend. Enjoy Chicago in those 2 weeks of summer that you're set to have here soon. Come on back, more NFL Draft Talk next.
You're tuned in to VSiN By The Books, right here on VSiN.
We are back, VSiN By The Books, on this Tuesday edition of 48 Hours to Go before we get to the NFL Draft. We have been doing our yeoman's work here in the last week plus to get through every single team in the first round. We're now well into the playoff teams from a year ago, into the 20s, and that's where we find the Green Bay Packers. At 23 in that first round. Like Jensen, I always say these are good problems to have. It's kind of like rich people problems. Like they go, oh man, we don't draft to the. That means you were in the playoffs, right? This is why we do this the way the league has done this forever to try to get a little bit of balance and equity into the league here. So I'm down with the program. So when you're drafting 23 like you are for Green Bay, this is a team that it feels like on the surface they've got a lot of things. Like if you watch them play, you go, man, they got a stud in the making at linebacker. They've got all these receivers. You did a really good job in free agency last year finding your running back. You traded back up in the first round years ago to get your quarterback of the future that's now the quarterback of the present in Jordan Love. Like they check a lot of boxes for me. 9.5 is their win total for next year. What would be if you're Brian Gutekunst, the GM, and you're sitting there at 23, and yes, those receivers that are all very good, maybe you don't have an alpha out of that group. That could be the one thing. They're like, well, who's the real star of that group? Corner, edge, D-line, O-line. Where do you think Gutekunst and company are looking at 23?
I feel like cornerback edges out receiver. And I know you and I have talked about it. We would have loved to have seen a healthy complement of receivers for Jordan Love at the end of the season. You know, what would Green Bay have looked like, especially into the postseason, right? So in a very pass-happy or pass-heavy, actually both happy and heavy, between Detroit and Minnesota. And now what, Chicago's offense will look like with Ben Johnson, you would think the secondary probably trumps that to be able to make sure that you can be able to defend that. Again, do you get a wide receiver one at this spot in the draft? I don't think you do, but crazier things have happened. And I think that's the refrain that we keep coming back to is there are going to be things that transpire in front of them. Yes, they are currently at 23, but I think you and I are both in agreement that once we get to 4 and 5, and then we see the cascade there through the rest of the top 10, how does that affect where teams maybe want to jump up a little bit to get guys if there is a run on certain positions? But to me, overall on paper right now, Dave, if I'm the Packers, knowing you could get healthy, and again, Jaden Reed, Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, if you can get everyone healthy at the same time, Tucker Kraft's been a great tight end for them too. You have Josh Jacobs, who's been one of the most consistent running backs, and you got a trigger man that knows how to get the ball where he needs to. Yes, wide receiver one would be awesome. But I think if your bread is buttered in a certain aspect here, as you get towards the cold months, you got to be able to defend, and that would probably be where I'd lean at 23.
And that's where the marketplace says that Jensen Lewis, you would be correct. They are even money to draft an edge or D lineman with this pick at 23. Corner is nipping at the heels here, plus $1.75. O lineman is 3-1, and then receiver, as we talked about here, at 6-1. Tight end. How about this demarcation line? 50-1. You go from 6-1 for receivers, the fourth betting choice for the first round pick, to tight end at 50-1. So it's telling us that we're going either D-line, corner, and our O-line and receiver if we go the offensive way there. I look at this team, and they're plus 275 to win the North, 11-1 to win the NFC. You go back to that playoff game against the Eagles. I still don't know how the officials that not fumble to begin the game. I mean, they were put right behind the 8 ball on a terrible call, in my estimation. I like the makeup of this team. You can go back 2 years ago and make the case they should have beaten San Francisco. San Francisco went all the way to the Super Bowl that year, right? Yeah. So they've been close, Jensen, but you lose to the Eagles, who, of course, win the Super Bowl last year. You lose to the Niners the year before, who came oh so close to winning the Super Bowl. Are they as close as maybe those last two results would lend themselves to be? And any playable numbers when you look at the futures market here, again, 9.5, due slightly to the over, but not ridiculously priced at minus $1.20.
Let me answer your question with a statement. Tell me if you agree.
Okay.
The Packers are in the same echelon as the Eagles, the Lions, and the 49ers. Is that true or false to you?
I think it's true. And I know people are going to go, wait a minute. Eagles are the Super Bowl champs, and the Lions, we know they're the number one seed. I do think they're on par with the Niners, like in that equation. Okay. And the Niners, again, they got to get healthy. But going back to the young Packers, blew up my Cowboys, as we saw the shock and awe right there. And then the next week should have beaten the Niners. And I don't think they were fluky. Like, I don't think these are like, well, this team that just got hot and played their best football. And again, pushed Philadelphia. And if they get a break here and there that doesn't go against them to begin that game, I'd like to see that game play out on more of a level playing field from the jump, where they were immediately put behind the 8 ball. So with those elite teams you're talking about in the NFC, Jensen, I do put them in that class.
Okay, and then I'll answer that with the differentiator for me, and this may be where Brian Gutekunst, his draft history, 7 of his last 8 picks in the first round have been defense. Mm-hmm. I looked at Jahdae Barron from Texas as a cornerback. Siobhan Revelle Jr. I have a prop on plus $1.70 to be drafted in the first round. You think of elite cornerbacks or guys that could be difference makers in a secondary that potentially, if Green Bay wants to trade up a little bit to be able to get, like I said, depending on where the run goes here, we know Travis Hunter's going to go early, and then Will Johnson, to me, would be your next best cornerback available before Barron. Are either of those guys ones that you'd want to jump up and get, or does Green Bay just stand pat and say, we'll kind of let everything come to us and see where we are there? A Derek Harmon on the D line, when you think about the pressure in the passer, is that a way that they go? Or if we don't have the run on receivers, could you imagine the Packers going up to get a Tet McMillan or a Matthew Golden? And now we're in business here from a receiver room. Jaden Reed on one side, either of those other two on the other, and then getting healthy in that receiver room with Dobbs and company. Okay, a little bit different outlook here, knowing that you got Josh Jacobs in the backfield too.
They do. I mean, you do. You look at the receiving core in that room, right, with Jaden Reed and with Dontavian Wicks and Romeo Dobbs and Bo Melton, Christian Watson, of course. Then they bring over Mecole Hardman. We'll figure out if he's got anything left. I mean, they've got a lot of depth there, but maybe that true alpha they could find that in the draft. I look at their defense and certainly their picks, like Lucas Van Ness. I mean, they're hitting, as you mentioned with Gutekunst, in going defense in these drafts. Edgerrin Cooper, I mean, I hope people watch this kid play. I would never say there's another coming of LT coming, because Lawrence Taylor is Lawrence Taylor. But, man, he shows flashes of that. Like, you go, this guy is just supremely talented. We know how good Jair Alexander is. Maybe sometimes wears his head. They got to suspend him last year. Those sort of things happen. But it feels like when I just look at the roster that Gutekunst has built for LaFleur and company, it's a really good roster. Like, I don't think there's a lot of weaknesses. And you got that first pick at 23. You got a second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and 2 in the 7th. Like, Jensen, they've kept all their picks, and they're hitting on their picks. And that's why I think they're one of those elite teams in the NFC that we can put them up there with.
It is one of the spots in the draft now, too, where you look at just where potential chaos influences, whether they want to jump up or not. And I am also looking at, potentially like Emeka Egbuka. I'm thinking of receivers. If you don't want to go so high or to have to trade capital to get up, take your defense. Okay. And then kind of find your way up higher into round 2. If there's a receiver there that really jumps out to you.
Boy, how good is this division, right? If we really believe that the Bears are going to be better now with Ben Johnson there, right? We know how good Detroit is, and we'll get to them certainly before this week is over. And then we know how good Green Bay is, and Minnesota may be the revelation of a year ago. I mean, on paper, Jensen, best division in football. And I know AFC West people are going to have their claims there too. But, boy, it looks pretty darn good top to bottom.
Right now, and yes, the coaching pedigree is amazing in the AFC West. But you're right, from a talent standpoint, absolutely they'll be in the running for it.
If you want to come out to Vegas, and who doesn't? Jensen comes out here. You should too. You can go all in at Circle Las Vegas with the ultimate getaway package. How about this, Jensen? $400 and you're all in. What do you get? 2 nights stay here at Circa, $100 dining credit, $100 beverage credit. There's $200 for your $400 right there. And your very own daybed at Stadium Swim, where the party never stops. It's all for just $400, resort fees and taxes included. This limited time offer is valid for stays between May 26th and September 4th. It's the whole summer, Jensen. Don't miss it. Lock in your all-in summer package now at CircleLasVegas.com. And look, I'm biased. I work here. That is a great deal. $400 all in for 2 nights, $100 for food, $100 for drinks. Come on, do that math. That is a really good deal to get your hands on there. Okay, we are going to talk more in hour number 3 coming up. JVT is going to join us as well, Jonathan Von Tobel, break down what he's seeing so far in the NBA postseason. And when we get back, Really good conversation yesterday that I had with Jeff Schwartz. Knows a little bit about the draft and football in general. We'll get his thoughts on what's going to happen with Cleveland. That is next when you come back with us on VSiN By The Books.